Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
The following podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network.
This is PBA champion Kyle Troop, and you're listening to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. As you know, JP Jr. used to be introduced as the sexiest man in bowling, and now the world. But he doesn't have the best hair in the world. I do. Sorry, bud, but you know the deal. Pick it out. Fear the fro, baby.
Welcome to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. A hard-hitting, in-depth, cutting-edge look into the world of bowling. This podcast will not only cover all things bowling, but will also give you a raw look into real-life issues. You'll get unfettered access into the mind of one of the most gifted bowlers of this or any other generation. So without further ado, let's introduce you to the hosts of the show. Rad Rob, Rob Francois. Rad Rob, Rob Francois. Dr. Ocho. Dr. Ocho. And the incomparable Johnny Petraglia Jr. Johnny Petraglia Jr.
Hey guys, welcome to Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. I am your host, Rad Rob, Rob Francois. We hope everybody's doing well all around the world. Thank you for being here on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you're watching this. We are live, and we are ready to introduce our first co-host. He is the man with the shiniest mask in bowling. He is the owner of the Big Red Wiffle Bat. And his bat is much bigger than most people's, so I'm just going to throw it out there. It is the one and only Mr. Dr. Ocho. Good evening, Ocho. Really? You're not going to say anything? Usually you're going to have some funny quip about zoinks or, you know, just the way I introed you, how long my intro is. Nothing at all. All right, well. We're off to a great start. Also joining us is the third member of the team. He's a man with his name on the marquee. He is the one and only Mr. Johnny Petraglia Jr. What up, JP? What's going on, buddy?
What's up, Rob? Good to be here. Ocho's slimmed out this week.
Yeah,
his games.
He looks good, but obviously he's not talking, so I guess it's still no different than usual. So
no different than usual.
So what's going on with you?
Nothing much, man. I'm counting the hours down until I hop in my car and head to Reno to bowl USBCs. My team bowls, I think, at like 2-ish on Friday. And then doubles and singles, we bowl, I think, 10 or 10:30 in the morning. So driving out to Reno tomorrow, going to bowl some Bowlers Journal squads, maybe try and pop over to the BTM. And then my favorite event of the Nationals year is the 40-frame game, especially if it's still in the VIP lanes downstairs at the stadium. So this is, one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite vacations of the year. We have 4 companion teams total, so it's me and legit 20 of the best people I know and closest friends from all across the USA, all getting together for. There's one of them. All getting together for a few days to, in the biggest little shitty city in the world, Reno. What a fucking shithole.
It really is. But are you at least excited to go and bowl?
Oh, yeah. First off, it's the National Bowling Stadium, and I'm left-handed, so I automatically go there with confidence.
Right.
I don't care that there's new lane panels or anything along those lines. I always seem to be okay in Reno, bowling related wise. Roger, Brian, Steph, Dave, Emerald, first ones we see. Good to see you guys here as usual.
What's up, everyone?
That's what I'm excited the most about, at least what's up and coming. I'm off from work Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I'm on vacation in Reno until next Monday, and then when I come home, I got 2 more days off. So I'm bowling ready right now to get out there.
Nice. Well, I'm excited for you. I can't wait to hear how that goes. And is it going to be on Bowl TV at all? Are they covering any of it? Do you know?
I know very, very little about that kind of stuff. Maybe somebody can throw it up in the chat. I know that they usually what they'll do is they'll set up a camera behind each pair and offer you the option of buying your team's video.
Right.
So I see a lot of people, they'll post the videos of their team events on, say, YouTube or something like that, where they can be viewed later on. As far as the particulars of seeing them right then and there, I'm not sure if it's available on Bowl TV.
Gotcha. Okay. Good evening, Brian Hara is here. Thank you very much for joining us. We're 14 strong already. Steph says no live coverage, but they have live scoring available, so you can watch scores come in frame by frame, but that's it. I'll have to do that, though.
How are you, Dan?
Just to be able to track you. Hello, Dan. So first talk, real talk. Did you watch the NASCAR Invitational from this past Sunday?
I watched it from front to back, believe it or not. Yes, I did.
I'm gonna have a lot to say about it. I'm a little. I don't want to say. I don't want to throw Fox under the bus, even though I already have before. But
who cares? Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's fair. I don't know. I just. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to do the good, the bad, and the ugly. Are you up for that?
Sure, yeah.
Wrong button.
What's up, Bear? It's perfect entrance music for Bear.
All right. So.
All right.
Let's talk about the good first.
Okay.
Kyle Troop is amazing. I think
always has been.
I think we can all agree on that, right? Like he was the perfect guy to be on there, right? Because he's such a showman. He's great with the crowd. He's pretty much a name brand now, outside of Belmo and Simo and Rask and guys like that, but I thought he was very entertaining. I thought he bowls very well. Do you think it was pretty much set up for him to get to the finals?
No.
Not at all?
Okay. I think, first off, you can't set up anything when you have four in the main matches and then another half dozen to 8 players that literally have no idea what they're doing. So whatever was set up there, I mean, you've gone bowling on a Saturday afternoon, and any 200 average bowler that goes and bowls after either the kids' morning shift or all the birthday parties with the balloons and the popcorn, the lanes are nowhere near dressed the way that they were when they freshly put out the oil.
Right.
And true. Nowadays, you can't really set them up for anybody. I mean, you can lower the volume to make sure the two-handers can throw it higher than the standard bowlers, but nothing there was set up other than for no. I don't think it was set up for Kyle. No, I don't.
Daria Payok.
Yeah,
one of the hottest chicks in the world.
Yeah, she's a good lady too, and she's great for television. And it's okay. I'll take one here. The good of the show. Here's the good. You had 2 beautiful women. So Verity and Daria are beautiful women. Mm-hmm. So, and aside from that, now the looks got everybody's attention, and now you see 2 of the most gifted athletes the sports scene from the ladies' side ever. I mean, They are relatively small women, and they could hook the lane as much as they want to whenever they want to. What's up, Rob?
I mean, Daria was throwing like 400 revs, right? 420 revs, something like that.
She's up there, and Verity's up there too. Yeah. Verity's not as high as Daria, but both of them have that more modernized athletic power type game. Power tweener game.
Yeah.
So the 4 selections, the only person as far as the PBA side that I was a little about is Jesper, just because he's so quiet.
Yeah.
And I think that even Jesper, like on that show, the fact that he came out throwing resin, even I said, whoa, okay, Jesper's throwing resin. This is different.
Yeah.
But then we very quickly learned why Jesper never throws resin, right?
Right.
Or any other lefty for that matter. It doesn't matter how good of a bowler you are. It's just not really the way to go on the left side of the lane. But the good is I think the variety of pros that they had, they represented, I think Jesper's from Sweden,
Yep.
Verity's from England, Daria Poland, and Kyle from USA. So you had the globe pretty much represented in the 4 professional athletes. So I thought that was very, very good. Again, the beauty of the women and the talent of the men and the showmanship of one of the best bowlers in the world right now, and Kyle Troop, made for as entertaining of a special event as it could have been, in my eyes.
I agree. I agree.
And the other good that I'm going to say is I liked the celebrities in the event. I have no idea who that Priest guy is. What's his first name? I still don't know.
Yep.
Priest. He was funny. He spoke very, very well.
Yep.
And figured out a way to knock the pins down, and he was bubbly and happy. Stenhouse, the Daytona champ, you could tell that he's a competitive athlete.
Yes.
And was really, really trying, but actually mingling with the girls and the guys, thank you, David, Ryan Priest, they were mingling together, they were laughing and joking and having a good time together. I actually thought that was kind of cool. It's always cool when the celebrities on the show or up-and-coming celebrities are more engaging or more engaged in what they're doing. So I liked that. And the last good, and then I'll give it back to you, is when they did the shootout, when they brought in Earnhardt and they brought in Jimmy Allen and they brought in Eric, I can't remember Eric's last name.
Almirola.
Almirola, thank you. And all those guys, everybody that was in the shootout some were talented.
Yep.
Some were really, really fun. And everybody, it was enjoyable to watch because I liked and appreciated the celebrities that were there.
I agree.
So all in all, I didn't think I went there closed-minded, thinking this is going to be another bullshit, nonsense, whatever you call it, like I feel about most of the CP3 events. But this one was actually kind of cool. They kept the crowd engaged, and I was okay with it.
I thought Jeffrey Earnhardt was like the Iceman, dude, And that's just the Earnhardt thing, right? They're so intense, and they all look alike, for Christ's sakes. I mean, he looks just like Dale and his, I don't know, his grandfather? Was Dale Sr., I think?
Dude, I know nothing
uncle?
about NASCAR.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing about NASCAR at all.
That's
I know a little bit about Formula One. I'm not a NASCAR guy.
And I thought it was funny that, who was the guy? Gray Galding. Shot a 300, and they showed the video, and he's the first one out.
Yeah, of course.
I'm like, what, dude?
And what's so funny, ironically, is, you kind of understood after you watched it a little while. They drilled maybe 3 or 4 of that brand new IQ Tour Ruby.
Yes.
And put them on the rack. But you can tell very early on in the show that they were all either 12 or 13 pounds.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if you noticed that.
I did.
Because, when you watch Stenhouse bowl, anybody that's a bowler, Stenhouse was hitting it a little bit at the bottom with medium speed with a top-of-the-line bowling ball. That thing never even thought about going right off his hand when it hit down lane.
Right.
It's because there's nothing in the middle. It's a generic weight block. It's a condensed shell, whatever it is. But 12 and 13-pound ball doesn't do the same thing a 14, 15, 16 does. So when Greg Galding got up and he threw that first shot, I expected, and he expected for sure, that ball would turn over a little bit. Yeah. And it didn't. Because it doesn't have the engine in it that the heavier weights do.
Right.
So he was stunned, I actually think, for the right reason. Because he was one of the victims that fell to being better than the equipment that he was using.
Correct.
And I wonder, if you don't know bowling enough, you don't automatically say, well, I'm throwing an IQ Ruby. I don't care that it's 12 pounds. It's the same ball as if it's 15. It's not. It's a totally different ball.
Yeah.
So it was weird, but then again, the guys that are actually more bowlers that hook the ball more than the straight guys. Remember, if the straight guys keep it on the lane and they hit the head pin, they're going to get 7 or 8.
Right.
They're not going to go 5 through the middle or 4 through the heart. They're not going to wash out, So it's kind of like, what do you do in that situation? I was mostly worried about Jimmy Allen having one dive through the nose and going like Greek church or something to get knocked out in the first round.
Do you think, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked before, do you think that was set up for Jimmy Allen to win?
No. You can't, no. Jimmy Allen is light years of a better bowler than every celebrity that was on that show, with the exception of Earnhardt if he were to bowl a little bit more often, just because that guy was an animal and he controlled the ball so well.
To me, it just seemed like a Jimmy Allen suckfest. I mean, and that's just my opinion. I mean,
it's one of the things that the PBA continues to do. They try and hand off our sport to somebody in the limelight to make them try and project us like we're cool, like because we can't do it ourselves.
Right.
And it's always what they do.
Yeah.
It's fine. You try everything you can to do it. I mean, they picked Daria and Verity for very specific reasons.
Right.
Let's be completely honest, guys.
Yep.
Ocho or Rigid Ocho, whatever you are. By the way, our names are gone.
It's gone when I put the
oh,
shit on
you're
the bottom.
right. This isn't chicken. This is chicken. They could have very easily picked. I'm not even going to mention any females' names.
Don't mention names. I mean,
but they could have picked two 20-time PWBA champions to be on that show.
Right.
But they picked the two that look the prettiest and throw the prettiest. With the prettiest.
Yeah.
And were, I guess, also available, and Storm staffers, because it must have been sponsored by Storm to some extent.
I was going to ask you that, because that was going to be part of my bad. This was literally, and the IQ Ruby is what, a newer ball? One of the newer balls?
Brand new from Storm, yep.
So, obviously, this was, it was an ad job for Storm and 900 Global.
Which is great. There's no problem with that whatsoever. It was, that's...
But I would like to see more diversity, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, showcase, two of the top three of the top brands or whatever, or at least two of the top brands, and not just be an all Storm thing. That just, I don't know. To me, that just rubbed me the wrong way. Especially when you have more eyes on it, because you're pulling the NASCAR fans in that might watch it too, and they don't know a lot about it. So you have more eyes on the product than you normally would. So why not showcase other brands or other equipment? That's my personal opinion.
That's fine.
It just rubbed me the wrong way a little bit.
I like it. I understand it for sure. It was obviously a Storm sponsored event. I mean, if you walked into a Brunswick sponsored event, you wouldn't see an IQ Tour Ruby there. So you're not going to see diversity there. If you walked into a Motive Monday trade show, you're only going to see Motive products. But I do respect what you're saying, but there's obviously outlying factors. Storm had to do something, most likely with NASCAR, to get it to happen, just to begin with. And they went from there, and then they rode out with it, which it was still, I understand what you're saying. My bad is the same bad that always is. It's us. We have a sideline reporter that basically at this point, I have learned, just simply refuses to learn the sport that she covers.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Art, and
Thanks,
John
Art.
and Roger. She just is not in touch with the game, or she doesn't know how to relate to other people. She doesn't know how to present questions the right way.
Yeah.
And it is such a C average telecast every time you have her on the sideline and Randy in the booth. And I love Randy. I've always loved Randy. I really have. Kimberly was always nice to me when I saw her too, but the show is just such subpar because they try and, I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't understand the questions that are asked, or the timing of things, or the random jokes and all this other shit. Like, you have all these celebrities out there. You're on the Phoenix racetrack basically right now. So what are you doing? Like, I just don't understand. So as far as the bad, it's the same thing that's always bad. The productions are C rating at best, if not D.
That was going to be my ugly. Is just a complete clusterfuck by Fox. And keep in mind, they acted like it was live, but it was pre-taped. It was pre-taped on Thursday. And they still had editing errors. Like, there's stuff that they could have edited out that were just pretty egregious. Like, number one, and I know they timed the show out because they wanted to be exactly 2 hours or whatever. But, I mean, they didn't even make any effort to try to edit anything. One of the racks being off, what did he leave, a 7-pin or whatever? A 7-pin was left and it fell down. They had to re-rack it or something like that.
Yeah, that took a little longer than it should. Mm-hmm.
Why not edit that out and fill in something else? Like, put a little quick highlight video of something during the week or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, why?
Exactly.
Why keep that
Great
in?
Point.
You know what I mean?
Point.
And there's several examples of that during the show where there's some kind of timing issues or faux pas or whatever, and they just kept it in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just
totally.
And Randy fucked up. Like, I'll admit, Dave was good. Like, I like him better than Rob. That's just me. I like a straight play-by-play guy. That's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
That's what I'm used to with Schenkel, right? I mean,
you need one of them.
Right.
You can't have two people bouncing off walls in the booth. You need somebody to let the general public know what's going on.
Right.
Even though it was a specialty event. Tell me why that guy's sitting on that couch. Tell me, is it because he had the low count? Okay, tell me something.
Yes.
Let me know what's going on. Like what John just said, put in a clip of the race. If you're promoting bowling and NASCAR at the same time, you're right on key with that, Rob. 100%. I couldn't agree more.
Bear says they need me to run the show. Yeah, I mean, why not?
They'd be a hell of a lot better off if that were the case.
So, I mean, that pissed me off. And, Randy fucked up. Like, Dave was doing what he's supposed to do. Like, today, later on in a couple hours, watch, the Phoenix Invitational on Fox, blah, blah, blah. Acting like it was a live thing on Sunday, right? And then you got Randy later on saying, they're going to be at Phoenix. The race is coming up this weekend or whatever. Like, Randy, you're supposed to pretend it's fucking Sunday, dude. How long have you've been doing this? 30 years? How the fuck do you not know stuff like that? I mean, and that's just nitpicking a little bit, but I mean, there was just so many different production issues that I meant to write them down, but what's that?
It's not nitpicking when you're on television for 2 hours and you're trying to grow an audience.
Sure. Well, yeah. Okay.
It's not. I mean, you guys know as well as anybody else, if they say you can identify if you like a song in the first 5 seconds.
Right.
It's crazy, but ever since I heard that comment, when I hear a song for the first time, like I really got into Volbeat. I don't know if you know who Volbeat is,
no.
But I don't know a lot of their stuff. But like I know 3 seconds into hearing Volbeat, whether it be the lead singer's voice or the music that I'm hearing, that I like most of their music. Mm-hmm. Whereas when I hear, oh God, what the hell is the band that I fucking hate that's on that same set list? Maybe Breaking Benjamin. Like every single one of their songs that comes out, I don't like it in the first 5 seconds. It's not in tune with my ears.
Right.
And where the hell was I going with this? What did you even mention? I don't know what I was saying. What you had just mentioned something before I said that.
Just production. Oh, nitpicking stuff.
Yeah, I guess nitpicking. So like, if you know that you are trying to create more viewers or you're trying to get more people acknowledging the sport and this and that, you can't have little bullshit like that happen and make it look like a subpar production because people are going to change the channel.
Yeah.
They're not going to be interested anymore. Okay, so I see the same guys throwing the ball down the lane. This guy's acting like an idiot in the booth, and the hot chick's not bowling anymore. So, all right, I guess I'll change the station now.
Right. And there was like an opening camera angle, like on the first shot, where they completely missed the shot, and they had the fucking ball path, whatever they fucking call the where they show the ball trajectory or whatever.
Yeah. I mean the ball for that. Give me a fucking break, guys.
That too, like really just throwing.
In case you guys couldn't see that 8 of the 10 people on the show are throwing it 18 miles an hour at the head pin. Here's the graph to show you.
Right.
Imagine if they'd have put an oil pattern on the graph. They probably did.
They talked about it being a checkered flag oil pattern, whatever the fuck that is.
Frank and I spoke through Messenger the other day. You signed in, you said it may have been addressed, but what about Kyle Troop saying racing fans may be better? I didn't hear that. Better than what? Better than bowling fans? Or better than the fans that have been in other celebrity events? Write another comment. Let's elaborate on that a little bit. But racing fans, even though I don't like racing fans have always been loyal to racing. Mm-hmm. Racing fans have always been drinkers.
Yeah.
Racing fans have always been a little loud and a little bit more into louder noises, and they like action.
Dude, if you ever get an infield pass to like Talladega where they all park their campers and shit, dude, it's a fucking rave every night. It's like Mardi Gras, all fucking week. It's ridiculous.
Of course.
They know how to party.
Totally. Yeah. So I even liked Jesper on the show because Jesper's like, even though he's quiet, he's still funny.
Yes.
So I like, by the way, Kevin, congrats on the 300 last night with your Storm Night Road.
Oh, nice, Kevin. Good job, buddy.
We'll talk about that later too, Rob, because I missed League last night, but I hopped on Facebook at the time that League would have been over. I got to tell you about League last night.
Okay.
Just to feed off of what I was bitching about last week.
Yeah.
Yes, bowling fans. He said it bowling fans. He said it at the end of the show. NASCAR fans, you know why that is, Frank? Whenever fans of a sport like NASCAR go and watch a sport that they're not really heavily involved with, that they don't know much about, they're less likely to be assholes to the people that are competing in that sport. Like bowlers pretty much, and bowling fans, they go out of their way to insult, bring down, and make other bowlers feel completely inferior every chance they get.
Right.
It's just the way that they are. It's getting worse with every day that passes in the world. NASCAR fans went in there and said, these are some awesome bowlers. I've never seen pins fly like that before. And wow, bowlers are good looking and cool, and they got a little pizzazz, and then this and that. I can get down with this shit. Awesome. That was one of the really good things about the show, because of what Frank said, because you brought NASCAR fans into bowling.
Right.
I like that a lot. I thought that was actually really cool. Jim Rogers says you can go anywhere in the country and see a Dale Earnhardt shirt,
yeah.
but you never go out and see someone wearing an Earl Anthony shirt. Exactly.
Or a Belmo shirt. You know what I mean?
Or a Belmo shirt,
yeah.
Which they mentioned at the TOC this week is it's no longer, he's allowed to wear Belmo on the back of his jersey now as opposed to his last name, which is Belmonte, because Belmo is now an official brand. It's not a nickname, which is another thing the PBA decided that they wanted to, or bowlers in the PBA wanted to get pissed at Belmo about. It's like, can we just let the best bowler in the world that created an entire generation of bowlers just continue to do what he's doing, and y'all just shut the fuck up, please?
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I get why some people be pissed off about that, but yeah, you're right. Like, the whole reason, like, you're here and you still have money in the sport is because fucking Belmo was the one that revitalized the whole thing.
Totally.
Without him,
Imagine golfers saying they didn't want Tiger Woods on tour because he won too much.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the guy that finishes 10th makes $1 million a week now instead of $300,000 because Tiger's on tour.
Right. That's a good point.
Anyway.
That's a really good point. Any other ugly that you could think of? I mean, just Fox as a whole. Like, they just seem to be getting worse and worse every week.
Again, I don't know. I don't know if it's Fox or if it's the PBA or whatever the production is. But again, I personally don't enjoy the newer shows compared to the older ones. I don't even enjoy them compared to the ESPN shows when Durbin and Holman were commentating.
Right.
But they are what they are. And, it's kind of the way of the world now. They really got to be technologically inclined and show you what's going on with the oil and blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, it's overall, I thought that the NASCAR event was relatively successful one. I thought it was pretty enjoyable to watch, and I'm shocked that I'm saying that.
No, I mean, I had fun watching. I particularly liked the scramble, which, did they even talk about that or advertise it? I had no idea that was even part of the event. It was just, they went to commercial break in between rounds, and there it was. Like, I don't even remember.
Well, in the opening of the show, they said that there may be a Jimmy Allen sighting with some sort of charity event. So then...
Way to hype it up. Yeah, way to talk about it.
They showed him entering. Well, you knew Jimmy Allen was going to bowl because he was on the cover for the show, but he wasn't shown in the matches. So It's like, all right, I guess we'll see Jimmy Allen, which, by the way, still have never heard a song of his.
Me neither.
Have no idea what he sings. So, nothing against him. I just still don't fucking know who he is.
And I go back to, I'll throw him in the good because I thought he was fantastic on commentary.
Just gonna say, he was great in the booth. Is that what you're going to say?
Yes.
I thought he was great in the booth.
He's like Dave, like a Dave, Chappelle kind of guy, like just laid back and chill and always cracking jokes, whatever. Like, I thought he was very charismatic, and I thought he did a great job. But going back to Randy, like, Randy just tried so hard to be hip and cool, right? And try to throw like current references out, like pop culture stuff, and he has no fucking clue what's going on. And it might have been fed to him by the truck, but goddamn, like, Randy goes out of his way to try to fucking like overshadow everybody else.
The thing about Randy is cool. He's already cool. But he acts like, I don't know, he acts like a teenage girl in the front row at a Michael Jackson concert in 1992 whenever he's in the presence of anybody that's got more celebrity status than him.
Yes.
Randy is one of the funniest human beings in the world. He's very enjoyable to be around. And he turns into like one of these like shirt-tugging, crazed fanatics when he's around anybody with a little bit more status than him.
Yeah.
Like, that's embarrassing, dude. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Or as they say out here, embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
That's kind of where I was going with that. And nothing against Randy personally. I don't like his style in the booth. And, I'd rather have somebody like Norm Duke in there. Like, I saw Norm on Brad and Kyle's channel this week. Mm-hmm. Fucking guy knows everything. And he's funny. Oh, yeah. And he's relatable. And he's a fucking legend, right? Not disparaging Randy's career or whatever, but he's not Norm Duke, right? I mean, not many people are.
Yeah. And Norm's also humble in his delivery.
Yes.
Even though he doesn't believe half the shit he's saying. He knows the right things to say. I'll give you a prime example because we're about to bump into the TSC here, and I saw that Bear was asking how we felt about the TSC as far as the ladder.
Gotcha.
But they had Norm in the booth this week at Riviera Lanes in Ohio for the TSC.
Oh, cool.
And Jake Peters, one of my good friends and the guy that I'm pulling for this week and pretty much every week he's out there, they had Jake was bowling on the extra frame pair on the main feed. And Norm Duke was in the booth, and he gave Jake one of the greatest compliments ever, and this is so true of Jake. He's watching Jake bowl like 240 or 230, and he goes, guys, there are certain guys out here that just have a niche. They've got something. Like, for instance, Jacob Buttriff. Jacob Buttriff is not a better bowler than Parker Bone, but Jacob Buttriff gets his hand in a position that no other lefty can, right?
Right.
He has that niche. They were talking about Jesper Svensson and his 600 rev rate, but still being able to go up the lane with speed. So he never really has to worry about crazy designs.
Yeah.
They were talking about Walter Ray having the niche of playing up the lane on virtually every pattern and never missing a single pin spare. And then Craig Elliott and a couple other guys in the booth said, well, you want to talk? Oh, and so in response to the Jake thing, Norm goes, Jake doesn't have a niche. Jake is just a flat-out awesome bowler. Like, it's not like the shot's going to be on 1-2. Oh, Jake Peters is going to win. Or, oh, fuck, it's over the cap. Jake Peters is going to win. No, Jake just is a really good bowler. The same way Chris Barnes is a really good bowler. But then they were talking about niches, so finally I think Craig Elliott says, Norm, you're going to sit here and say you don't have a niche? Like, you're the guy that plays the half board when the field is lofting the cap. You're the guy that completely plays different parts of the lane. You're the guy that can split hairs on it. What are you talking about? You don't have a niche. And Norm kept playing it off like completely humbly, like that niche is different than like the gifts that you possess and all this other shit like Buttriff's hand or Simo's backup ball or shit like that. And he was trying to be so humble about it to a point that when he was out of the box, the guys went back to saying, sorry, I'm not going to agree with Norm for saying that he doesn't have a niche, because Norm certainly has a niche.
Yeah.
If Norm's on the gutter, the only two guys in the world, not so much Walter Ray anymore because he's getting extremely old and his game shows it.
Right.
But like, if I got somebody on the rail, 1-2, I'm picking Walter.
Shit. He froze. All right. Now we got two hosts that don't want to talk. Okay. Well, I guess I'll fill some time here. Norm has such a compact style that I think that's why he's able to bowl so well, late into his career. Really, Johnny? You don't agree with that? Okay. Well, that's fine. Ocho, you got anything for me? Nothing. Great. All right, guys. Any questions for the chat for me? Because I guess I'm the only one here. Yeah, that's it's unfortunate. Dead air. Gotta love dead air. Hopefully Johnny can get his connection figured out here. Is he faking it? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he can stay. No, he's gone. Okay. So, Ocho, how you been bowling your league, buddy? Really? Not going to give me anything. YouTube thing. Explain, John. Please elaborate on that, sir, if you could. Yeah, this is the beauty of live television, right? Of live streams. You never know what's going to go wrong. But I'm a showman. I'm a pro. I can carry the show and talk to myself. I do it all the time because my wife never wants to talk to me. So I'm used to it quite a bit. If you guys don't know, I do have other podcasts as well. I'm going to plug them here while Johnny's not here. If you guys ever heard of Teddy Hart, he is the nephew of Bret the Hitman Hart, WWE Hall of Famer. He was the subject of a hit piece documentary on Peacock called Dangerous Breed. He and I have a podcast together. If you guys want to check that out, I'll actually play a little quick teaser for you on that, as long as I figure out what button to hit. While we try to get Johnny back here, take a look at this.
He's a member of wrestling royalty. His skills and his repertoire are unmatched.
I'm there on an electric chair. Electric chair, man! Put it on the board!
He's been buried by his peers.
Teddy Hart is a manipulative asshole who has mistreated all these people, has a criminal record a mile long, has been involved in a disappearance that nobody can solve, and he's not anxious to try to help anybody.
He's been buried by the media.
She came forward with her pro wrestling boyfriend, hoping to make it big. But several months later, Samantha Fiddler went missing.
You may think that you know all about him. Think again. This is the Teddy Hart they don't want you to see. Welcome to Rebuilding the Foundation with Teddy Hart.
So check it out. It is out on all podcast apps right now. It's also on YouTube. Funny story real quick here, since we have time to fill. Hello, JJ. What's going on, buddy? So we put that podcast up with Teddy Hart on YouTube, Rebuilding the Foundation. Search that. We have an alternate channel now, but YouTube actually pulled our channel and banned us. No strikes on our podcast. We had about 3 episodes out. They emailed me and said that we removed your channel for multiple violations of the terms of service, including scams, manipulative advertising, or some bullshit like that. And we had nothing to do with any of that. And the fact that YouTube didn't even warn us and just pulled the channel when clearly there's way worse shit out there, like propaganda and nudity and all that, and never gave us a chance to re-edit the video and upload it or delete the video or even give us any specific idea of what happened. That's total bullshit. So Johnny's back here. So if you guys want to support the show, check out Rebuilding the Foundation with Teddy Hart on all podcast apps. We're on Rumble, and we have a backup YouTube channel. Hello, Johnny.
Sorry, man. So just real quick for the viewers, in Las Vegas, if it rains or it's windy, internet goes out. Always.
That sucks.
So I don't know what just happened. But anyway, yeah. So we were talking about Norm Duke and how he's very humble a lot of times when he's speaking, but in the same breath, Norm knows he's one of the best that's ever lived.
Correct.
And to ever play the sport. So
no, that's correct.
Yeah.
I love Norm. I was saying,
it's hard not to.
When you got kicked off, you had mentioned about Walter Ray getting older and kind of breaking down, but Norm was had such a low center of gravity and was so compact and so smooth. I think that's why he was able to bowl so well into his later years, just because of the way how smooth he is and the way he throws the ball, and he has that real compact, like I said, low center of gravity and not much. He didn't have to do much, right? It's all in the hand. He's a hand guy.
There's always been certain games that as especially now that we have the data for it to show it, there are certain games that stand the test of time way better than other games, and usually the guys with less moving parts can last a little bit longer.
Right.
Prime examples are Norm Duke, Pete Weber over time, because even though he had the high backswing, not a lot of other shit is moving in his game. So once that backswing dropped down, the efficiency of motion was still there. Brian Voss, Parker Bone III's pushing 60.
Yep.
He still looks like he's 40 when he throws the ball.
Yep.
Other guys, as they get older, Walter Ray was always, jumping at the foul line, big figure eight in his swing, huge follow through, and now kind of everything don't work the way it used to. My dad really would turn sideways with his shoulders and open and close in the back and deep knee bend, and now the knees are going, and now he can't rotate around it, so his game is starting to get a little bit shitty now. But the guys that have always been compact are the guys that can seemingly last the longest and be competitive for the longest amount of time. And Norm Duke is a prime example. That game is so clean and so gentle and so smooth to the line. And if you ever want to really look at how much Norm worked on his game, go watch pre-1994 Norm Duke compared to 1994 Norm Duke. In his younger years, back when he won in Cleveland when he was 18 and the early 90s when he's throwing blue dots and shit on television, Norm was a lot taller. he used to start his game a lot higher, and then he would actually have to work his way down throughout the course of the approach. And he was good, but he was never great.
Right.
And then he started keeping everything just a little bit lower the whole time, sped the feet work up a little bit more rhythm and power behind the ball. And bada bing, between that and resin, Norm's one of the best that's ever lived.
Absolutely right.
So,
yeah.
Totally. Hi, Nicole.
Hello, Nicole.
Say hello to Rigid Ocho.
Ocho, why aren't you flexing for Nicole? I think he's in a bad mood tonight.
Yeah. I like his Rocky shirt.
I do too. He's very quiet, though. It's very weird. Anyway, back.
John, yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Back to TOC talk. Anything else that your observations this week of the actual bowling?
I love Riviera lanes. I feel like every year they're there. The lanes are scoreable, manageable, but everybody seems to falter somewhere on those lanes.
Right.
Like, what I like about the TSC is, contrary to what I was nervous about in the beginning part of the TSC, I think that there were 11 of the 64 bowlers this week, or 12 of the 64 bowlers this week were left-handed. I'm always going to start with the lefty-righty debacle shit. 3 lefties made the top 24. So 3 lefties out of 12. So 25% of the lefties made the top 24, which is 33% of the entire field, right?
Yep.
Awesome. So the ratio is already correct. If you take EJ Tackett out of the equation, who is bowling on a planet all by himself, and I'm going to say right now, do you remember last year when he bowled the doubles event with Marshall and I said, look out for EJ Tackett version 2.0?
Yep.
It's happening now. So at Riviera, now you got the 3 lefties in the field, and you have they're all hooking lefties, right? So that's already cool to me. So if you take EJ out of the equation at the completion of qualifying for 18 games, Jesper was 3rd, and I believe Stu Williams was 2nd. And they were only separated by 30 or 40 pins. One guy was 490 over, one guy was like 460 over. That's a really, really good tournament condition. That's a condition that is scoreable for everybody if you know how to handle the lanes that are in front of you. So I really like that ratio. And it was fun to actually watch. Qualifying is more fun for me than watching match play, because if you make it into the top 24, 17 of you guys are going to bowl on television.
Right.
So once you're in the top 24, I feel like that was the most like excruciating part of the tournament so far. Again, as the tournament progresses and you're cutting, say, the 4th seed, the 8th seed, and the 12th seed for the different shows that they're going to have, that's going to get really exciting at the conclusion of the 16 games of match play tomorrow. Like what Bear said, look out for Belmo. He had a monster block just to get into the top 24 after being 50 under through however many games. It was really just not looking good. And he still doesn't look as good as he has. He's it's very spotty.
When I saw him, he was all the way left, just like lofting it out to like 2 or 3. Like he was having a little bit of issue just
Moselle
trying to hit the pocket.
Yeah, they're all doing that, Rob. They're going up the lane with urethane. You see a lot of guys using big balls this week. Simo and Chris Prather are both throwing Rotogrip Gens.
Yeah.
You see a lot of surface going down the lane and a lot of speed. I did watch Kyle Troop earlier today using a UC2. He shot 300 to get himself back in contention, so that was awesome.
Nice.
But overall, what's happening at the TSC is you hear a ton of fans. You're in an historic venue in Riviera Lanes in Fairlawn. It's going to be a packed house for all of the TV shows.
Yep.
I hope that it gets extra coverage, because now, like golf, like let's say you fall in love with a golfer you've never seen on Thursday that happens to be in one of the premier groups because he's playing with Justin Thomas, and we'll give him like a Kung Fu Lee is his name from Japan. And if Kung Fu Lee, if you like the way he swings the golf club, and you know he's playing at the same time tomorrow, you might go watch Kung Fu Lee play again tomorrow on the golf course, right?
Right.
So it would be cool to see if some viewers tune into the first show and say somebody runs the ladder, and oh shit, if he's going to be back on television again tomorrow and the day after possibly. Hi, Rhonda. Help me, Rhonda. Get her out of my heart. And that'll be something really, really fun to see if it does happen. So So far, my take from the tournament is there is definitely an emphasis on shot making and being ahead of the moves. They're on an older SPL AMF lane surface. There's no down lane marking, so it's harder to read your break point or it's harder to see 8-9, whereas if you're on pro lane, it's very, very easy to see. And the talent pool that's in the top 24 is immaculate. I mean, there are some of the champs of yesteryear that are there who, like, I love watching Wes Malott bowl. I love watching Wes Malott bowl. I always have. It's nice to see him in contention. My good buddy Marshall Kent is knocking on the door to not only make a show, but make the top 5. So that's awesome to see. Obviously, we know Simo is Simo. He's going to be there in the end. Belmo's making a charge. I'll ask you this, Rob, and for some of our viewers also, because this was something that was actually brought up in the booth when Tom Hess was sitting in there talking earlier. They asked Tom how he felt about, the TSC format and what they're doing this year. And Tom expressed his disliking of the fact that there are non-PBA champions bowling in the Tournament of Champions. There's a really talented player in there. I think his last name is Grunder. He is in the top 24, never made a TV show. Obviously, you have to be a regional champion to have even competed in the PTQ.
Right.
So it's one cool storyline. Packy Hanrahan, one of our buddies who we're also pulling for, is also in there without a national PBA title. So he had expressed his interest that it's just shitty that there's a chance that a non-PBA title holder is going to be crowned the Tournament of Champions winner. And I'm curious, because this has been a thing for a while now, and it doesn't bother me near as much as it used to ever since they started introducing regional champions as champions that are eligible to play to begin with, right? So I'm curious what your take on it, or anybody else that's in the chat, what you guys' take is on that.
I think that is an old school way of looking at it, and I think it's outdated.
Derek hates it, but you think it's old school. Go ahead.
I think it's old school. I don't like that thought. I mean, like, regional champion should count for something. If it's a PBA regional, right? You are a member of the PBA. Doesn't matter if you're up on the main tour or if you're hitting a regional circuit. PBA is PBA. That's like you can't make the argument about any other sport. Like there's a big line between like college basketball and say in pro basketball. Like one's NBA, one's NCAA, but you're both under the PBA banner when it comes to regional or the national tour. So if you are going to include PBA champions, why shouldn't you be allowed to be on there if you're a regional champion? I think you should. So I don't mind that at all.
Well, let me follow that up with another question then, because this is a great comparison. So basically what you're saying is regional tour, pro tour, whatever it is, if you are a PBA champion, you should be treated as such.
Correct.
That's what you're saying now in this new world. Okay.
Yes.
If I told you that on the PBA tour, the national PBA tour, you can use a bowling ball that's been plugged. For those of you that don't know what the word plug means, old holes that were filled, or if you filled the weight hole when they went away with the weight holes. On the PBA tour, you can use a plugged bowling ball as long as the plugged area, the exposure of the plugged area is an eighth, max 3/16 of an inch exposure. That means you can literally take a ball, plug the finger holes, move the fingers up a max of an eighth of an inch for it to be passable. You cannot use a ball that you've plugged and re-drilled for a different layout. You can't use a ball that you've plugged the weight hole on. But you can on the regional tour. So that therein lies the question. If you're going to keep them one and the same, why do you abide by a different set of rules for guys in the regional circuit, which is the minor leagues or the entryway into the upper echelon of the bowling world? Why do you, it's like, you don't see guys in minor league baseball swinging metal bats.
Correct.
They're using wood bats.
Right.
If they were hitting metal bats, a lot of guys in the minors you would think are more powerful than guys in the majors, or because they would hit so many more home runs.
Right.
So I understand where your thought process is, and I appreciate your thought process. What I don't appreciate is their inability to keep the goddamn rules the same for each tier of professional bowling. They just can't seem to do it.
And I do agree with that. And that's more really just an argument against PBA and USBC and know that they're both inconsistent with their policies and their procedures and their laws and their bylaws. But I mean, to me, it still doesn't change the fact that if you're a member of the PBA, whether it's regional, even PBA leagues. Like, I'm not going to be shocked down the road if you get a PBA league champion or something like that that's able to get into some of these PBA tournaments or even the Tournament of Champions. You know what I mean? Like, once you set that precedent, who's to say that can't qualify either? So I wouldn't be surprised if that happened down the road. But as it stands right now, if you are a PBA member and you're a champion, you should be treated as such.
I like what Jerry said. Sorry to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
I like what Jerry just said.
Jerry says that's a rule thing to me. I agree, JP. The rules should be the same, but the players are playing by the hand that they're dealt. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And John Sperrone's right. Rules should be the same all around, but it's not an even playing field, obviously. But again, the argument still says if you're a PBA member and you're a champion, you should be able to play in the TOC. That's
100%.
I agree with it, and I don't because you need to move forward with the sport. You can't have the old guard. I mean, you can argue the same thing about politics and whatever else. Like, you need fresh new faces in there. You need to perk up the event a little bit and get people you wouldn't normally see on there. Because, all right, we'll use an example like the U.S. Open in golf. Anybody can qualify, be able to get into the U.S. Open and possibly win it. And even with the U.S. Open in bowling too, like, that's a great story. That's almost like. What's his nuts from the 49ers that was the last pick in the draft, and he almost went to the Super Bowl this year. Like, can you imagine if he never got drafted or never had a chance to play?
I love you too, Norm.
But I mean, like, it's a good story if you get some of these regional guys or people that qualify through the PTQ that normally wouldn't have a chance to get in there and bowl their asses off and get on TV. That's a hell of a Cinderella story.
Absolutely. And you know what? In the case of the TSC, that could very well possibly happen.
Yeah.
Because everybody in there is a champion, I believe, except Grunder and Packy.
Right.
Which means if one of those guys makes one of the shows amongst all the other titans of the sport right now, it does make for a Cinderella story. So it would be cool. Like I said, at this point, I don't give a shit anymore. They decided a long time ago that you didn't have to be a professional champion. You did not have to be a PBA title holder to win the Tournament of Champions. They made that decision over 10 years ago.
Right.
I mean, unfortunately, it was also coincided with one of the greatest achievements in sporting history because Kelly Kulick did it.
Yeah.
So it was, come on, but shit. At the same time, it's like, Kelly, you never won on the tour. Like, Christ. But nowadays, no, I'm kind of with you there. It's retro. It's like Jerry said, the players are being the players are playing the hand that they're dealt. I like that. I think that's cool. And like Sperone said, the U.S. Open is totally different than the TSC. I get that too. Dan says, big difference is that almost all touring pros are on staff and get free balls, while regional players are not. Just my opinion. That's another thing. Totally. They're the access to equipment. They mentioned at the TSC this week, Frankie Lavoie, another guy in the top 24, and the new age Norm Duke. You want to talk about a guy that's just undoubtedly
he's so smooth
shot makers I've ever seen.
I actually watched him.
I don't think he's smooth. I think his game's kind of ugly, but I think he's one of the best shot makers there is.
I like his release.
It's funky. It's fucking weird to me. But he's in eighth. Frankie's in eighth place right now. To go off Dan's comment here, Frankie's in eighth place right now. On the show that I listened to earlier, Frankie did an entire grip change this week. He changed his span. He changed his pitches in his thumb, his pitches in his fingers. The only thing that Frankie didn't change this week was the size of his finger grips and the oval finger grips that he uses.
Yep.
Now, you think about that. You're bowling the Tournament of Champions, 18 games of qualifying, 24 games of match play. How many balls do you think Frankie drilled on the truck this week?
6 to 8, probably.
At least a dozen. At least a dozen. At least a dozen.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So in that respect, because bowling doesn't have a shit ton of money, especially at the regional level, you can't enforce the same rules that you would on the regional players at that point. So I do get it. And like Sperone, that's how I feel. I think his approach is funky. I think it's awkward to look at, but he's just the sensational talent.
At the line.
Absolutely.
At the line, I love his release.
Hell yeah.
But that's a great point by Dan, because isn't that almost make it harder for regional players to win a title because they don't have access to all that kinds of equipment? Like, it's more skill at that point.
They get what they get from their contracts, and if you're a competitive, good regional player, you can certainly get pretty much anything you need. Prime example is Cody Shoemaker. I don't know if you guys know who Cody Shoemaker is, but he's been bowling regionally back east for a long time. And Cody is coming, man. Like, look out for him. And he is a force to be reckoned with. He is 1,000% going to make a TV show by the end of this season. And he's a prime example of you can do it from the regional level because he's been doing it. He's a champion there, and now he's out on the tour competing with all the big guns right now, every single week, including this week. So, Dell's asking...
What about Brian Bogosian?
Brian Bogosian, being a Masters champion, would have been eligible to bowl in the PTQ, but he's not a national title holder, so he would not be automatically invited into the main field. Huh. The main field, I believe, is the top 50 players, including past champions, who didn't decline to bowl. For instance, P. Weber declined to bowl this year. Matt O'Grady declined to bowl this year. Michael Haugen Jr. declined to bowl. Patrick Allen, Rhino Page. So those are 5 past Tournament of Champions winners within that limited field when you go from most present year going backwards, which is the reason why Packy Hanrahan got the last spot.
Yeah, he was an alternate.
Get in.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And he was allowed to enter the tournament.
Which, great for him. I love Packy. He's fantastic.
Absolutely. But yeah, so Bogosian would have been able to bowl the PTQ. He would not have been automatically in the exempt field.
I thought Steve Jaros was playing this week. I love him. I love him from back in the day.
Yeah, so that was the other thing I was going to try and mention is it. I don't know if anybody else saw this, but the guys that were towards the bottom are not as bad as it looked. Right. In other words, Parker Bone III, Walter Ray Williams Jr., Mark Williams, Mike Machuga, Steve Jaros. Who else am I missing that was way down at the bottom? Did I say Parker?
Yeah, you said Parker.
Okay. So, like, if I go down to look at the bottom of the list, let's see if we can even find it. Qualifying rounds all. No, I can't because of the fucking internet.
That's where Ocho would say, the bastard stole my candy.
Bastard stole my candy. Now it's all gone.
He's so quiet tonight.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, I'm looking at Brad Angelo. That was the other guy, if I didn't mention him. I'm looking at all of these titans of our sport. Do you know... I want to know what the odds of this bet would be if this was actually a sport bet. Parker Bone III bowled 18 games of qualifying this week. You know how many 200s he bowled?
Not looking at it, I'm going to say 4. 1, really? That was close.
You tell me on what planet Parker Bone III is supposed to bowl 1 200 game in 18 chances at the Tournament of Champions.
And that's funny because, shout out to Brad and Kyle again. If you guys don't subscribe to their YouTube channel, they're amazing. Like, Brad Miller is so cool. Kyle Sherman, they're just so knowledgeable about the game. But they were saying the lanes were easy this week. So it's just kind of weird how the old school versus new school kind of think about that. But, they thought, most of the shots were there. A lot of guys were able to play their line, their favorite line, but then you're right. Then you talk about Parker, who's done everything under the sun, struggling.
I'm talking about, like what Mike Harder just said, all the guys that were on the bottom or on the bottom were at the top, and they are still very good. But there should never, ever, ever be a time that Parker Bone III only bowls 1 200 game in 18 chances.
Right,
ever.
Right.
That's like Tiger Woods missing every fairway for 4 rounds at a tournament. Not even Tiger Woods. Let's pick somebody who hits more fairways than Tiger Woods, for Christ's sake. But to see guys like Brad Angelo, Mike Machuga, who are not that old guys, let's be honest. What are they? Is Chuga even 50? I don't think so.
I don't think
Brad Angelo
is
still kicking ass on the senior tour.
Yeah.
Walter Ray has still got some shit in his pipe. Parker Bones was knocking on the door for Player of the Year if he didn't win it this year on the senior tour.
Yeah.
What is so drastically different? Steve Jaros, former TSC winner, still in relatively good shape out there bowling. Pete McCordick. What is so goddamn different out there that the former best bowlers on the planet are literally turning around every minute, scratching their head saying, well, I guess it's true. I don't know how to bowl this game anymore. I don't know how to play this game that everybody else is playing. And it's so true because all of those guys have bowled on virtually the same shit for their entire life, or at least a certain way for their whole life. They are looking for reaction down lane. The goal is to be clean through the front part of the lane. Don't give it too much at the bottom. Allow the ball to float to the target. Trust it, blah, 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 all this other shit, shot making, precision, blah, 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 blah. And now it's like, fuck you, bro, see you later. Parker, you have to learn how to throw it like Kevin Williams, Packy Hanrahan, Jesper Svensson, or if you can't do it with two hands, try and throw it like Jacob Buttriff. And if you can't do any of those, throw it like Anthony Nyer. Like there's...
I mean, even Kyle Sherman, they say like his rev rate is stupid for just a straight up right-handed conventional bowler.
I've seen, I mean, it's not nearly as high as other guys. Kyle Sherman's rev rate is nowhere near EJ's.
Okay, I mean, that's just what
or Prather's.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
It's higher, but I would still, I consider Kyle more of a glorified power tweener.
Okay, that's fair. Well, Michael Harder says, is it a rev rate thing? Between the old guys.
The ball hooks, it's where you need the ball to hook on the lane now. In other words, the reason why urethane became such a factor in surface came out of nowhere. Guys nowadays, the game is all about adding surface to the ball at that level. They break down patterns differently than guys used to break down patterns. They smoke sand balls with 500, 360 grit, and they literally throw it as hard as they can at the gutter for 10 minutes, just getting it to bang at 30 feet and slow down lane. Parker Bowen III has never had to do that, and he's certainly not going to start trying to do that in his 50s, in his late 50s. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to see guys like Mike Machuga, who's got one of the most beautiful physical games anybody's ever seen, start trying to let the ball go like Jacob Buttriff to get it to bang off. Like, they can't drill enough balls with enough layouts because they're playing a game that no longer exists or works anymore. There is a reason why you see, other than their talent, there's a reason why you see the same kinds of games at the top every week. Nobody knew, outside from where he's from and within the intimate bowling world, nobody knew who Frankie Snodgrass was until these last 2 years.
Right.
Nobody knew who he was. And now all of a sudden, not only is Frank Snodgrass in contention every single week and in every single cut, Frank Snodgrass made the show at the U.S. Open. Frank Snodgrass also is almost a full roller. The only other one that's even close to him is Tom Smallwood when it comes to that ball rotation.
Right.
And out of nowhere, no matter what building or pattern they're in, Frank Snodgrass has a chance to win. Do you think Frank Snodgrass is better than Mike Machuga? Of course not. He may be eventually in the future, who knows? But it's the game that he's playing, and the games, just like every generation, if you are introduced to the game at the right time and you have the right game for the way the game is, you are going to be great. And that is what's happening out there right now. Jesper Svensson walks into any building on any oil pattern and he throws urethane on everything from the same fucking zone every week. You don't see Jesper piping it up 1-2 one week and then in front of the ball return the next week. He's around 25, 28 with his feet. He's hitting about 15 at the arrows, and he's getting it to about 9 down lane.
Yeah.
Every single week. EJ Tackett, he starts around the track area with a lot of shell and speed, and then about 2 games in, he jumps 15 boards left or 10 boards left. And then if he has to go more, he jumps another 10 boards and he goes in front of the ball return. It's the same guys every single week are up there every single week for reasons other than just being the best shot makers in the world and the best the game has ever seen, at least for this generation. Dell says, how do you think the PBA fixes this? Stop urethane and surface? I don't know anymore, Dell. And now, just like we said, you could never eliminate resin because it changed so many bowling lives. Now you can't eliminate urethane.
You can't.
Because if you eliminate urethane, now you eliminate an entire new generation of bowlers, which are our only chance of growing the sport 20 years from now.
Yep.
So you can't eliminate urethane. How are you going to eliminate urethane, especially when reactive resin is made with urethane? It's all over the place in that respect.
It is all over the place. Let's go to League Talk real quick. How you bowling?
I did not bowl last week. Last night. I got a severe, crazy stomach bug. Without giving too much information, nothing wanted to stay in this way or that way.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to be bowling and having to fight that. I'd rather get myself ready for Reno. But I did hop on because last week I had mentioned that I'm like really depressed with myself since we moved into the plaza because I am the worst bowler in bowling on the house shot in the plaza. Last night, there were a couple, 10:55 was bowled the last game by my old boss, Dan Nadeau's team. There was Dan Nadeau bowled 300. Jordan Katz left a blower 710 for 279. in the first frame. Justin Spurrier, another lefty, and along with Jordan, goes stone eight sheet for 268. Kevin Beers, guest on our show, another lefty. He bowled 300 last night. My buddy Matt Dobbs' brother, Zach, shot 300 last night. And those are only the ones that I scrolled through.
Well, Sperone apparently has 3.
I don't know who else, but I have to. The next week I go bowl league, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to bowl 300 a game to at least tie. And I'm fucking shooting 710 and 730. It's garbage now.
So pull out your LT and just fucking let it rip, dude.
Or like Moselle says, just take out the T zone.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go back to it because they're all striking from that zone on the lane, too.
Right.
They're all striking from the track area. And I'm the asshole that's like, well, I don't want to throw plastic anymore. I'm going to try and curve it. No, I'm just going to go back to the track area with my 550 rev rate with my SPY, and then maybe I'll join the 300 club.
Do what works, dude. Do what works for you, man. Don't change it. Why you gotta? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, dude. Shit.
I'm bound by contract to. I'm sorry, I keep kicking this shit. I'm bound by contract to at least promote somewhat the new bowling ball. So I keep drilling balls and bringing them there every week, and 9 times out of 10 they don't come home with me. Anybody that bowls league with me understands that. But no, I'm a little down on myself that I'm not a member of. I think there's 30 teams in the league, 4-man teams, 120 bowlers. I think 117 bowlers in the league have a 300 this year, and I'm not one of them.
Can I ask you this?
Yeah.
Would you ever consider putting your thumb back in the ball? Just humor me for a minute.
Never.
Just to see if you have better results.
Never.
Why? Explain why you're not willing to try that.
Okay, a lot of people ask me this, and I've always given them a lot of different runarounds. But
I want you to shoot straight.
The very, very honest truth why I took my thumb out of the ball to begin with was, number one, I always had thumb trouble.
Okay.
My thumb always hurts. And people in the chat can say, did you ever change your pitches or your span, or did you try squeezing it less? I'm like, guys, I promise you, I've tried everything under the sun. If I throw one game with my thumb, committed to bowling one game, my thumb bleeds or it hurts to a point that when the day is over, I need to take so many medications that are bad for other parts of my body just to get the swelling down, to make it heal and not be painful, that I could never, ever, ever go bowl 40 games in a tournament pain-free.
Okay, that's fair.
And the second part is this only happens when I bowl. But when I bowl, I have the sweatiest motherfucking hands in the world. When those lights go on for practice, I could literally stand there with my hand like this, and it would drip into a cup that I could drink.
You're like Kevin Euclid.
That's how much my hands sweat. No matter how much rosin I put on it, no matter what I do, no matter how long I hold it over the air, by the time my hand is in the ball, the saturation from my hand, you could see it on the palm area of my bowling ball.
Okay.
Hence the reason why I love to drink when I bowl, because when I drink, that goes away.
Right.
I'm dehydrated. There's nothing to sweat out.
Okay.
So when I took my thumb out of the ball, even if my hand is sweaty, I'm completely anchored and the ball is stuck on me.
Yeah.
So I can't lose it. I can't drop it. I can't miss it at the bottom. I cannot throw it through the break point unless I just completely throw it like a donkey. But those are the honest reasons why. So I always thought to myself, what would ever happen if I made a TV show? I would throw the ball backwards my first shot on TV if my thumb was in it. And this is my biggest problem, and it's honestly what Mike just said here. I know how pretty it is, and I know how good it is when my thumb is in it. There's no doubting that. I pray every day that I could go back and forth without an issue. I watched Walter Ray do it today. I watched him go from one-handed to two-handed. I would love to be able to use, because there's times that if I could use my thumb, I could shoot 300 every game also. There's times that and I throw pins everywhere when my thumb is in the ball. There's no doubt about it. But the confidence is so low, and those hands are just so goddamn wet that I finally said, screw it.
Did you ever try to find out why that causes your thumb to react like that? I mean, you've been bowling since you were a kid.
No, I don't know. I'm just crazy.
Okay, that's fair. Well, I mean, thank you for being honest about that, because I always wondered, as good as you are, and you're not having the success you want to with no thumb, just fucking put your thumb back in the ball. But that makes sense. Have you tried two-handed?
Oh yeah, I look pretty horrible.
Do you really?
Two-hand. I look like a ballerina at the foul line. I have to save myself from falling over, and my balance leg does some kind of shit that twists me around.
Uh-huh.
It's really embarrassing.
That's interesting.
I actually throw it relatively well right-handed.
Yeah.
But
there you go.
Like Sperone says.
Yeah,
lefties are a little bit off, but we're also brilliant.
That is true. That is absolutely true. Ocho, how you bowling, buddy?
I know.
I'm bowling
680. I missed 8 spares.
Yeah, it sucks. It always happens to me.
At least I brought Tom and Schmo to the gun show.
All right, let's get into
644 last week.
Who the hell is that?
Were you a ventriloquist? What the fuck?
No, really, what was that?
I have no idea. That was weird. That wasn't me.
Creepy.
Yeah, that was really creepy. I guess the ghost.
And he also said 844 last week, which was it a 4-game league? Rigid Oach?
That's a good question.
What were you going to say now?
We're going to move into our final.
644.
644. Thank you, Rigid Dr. Ocho.
Okay, cool.
Bear, what do you mean I'm really off? Off on what? Tell me. Go ahead. What were you going to say to get into next?
I have no idea.
I don't think we have anything.
The imbecile of the week. We had a couple contenders, and I'll throw them up and see what you think about them. We're not going to name names for the contenders.
Oh, okay.
So hypothetical and total jerk move situation. Let's say you're bowling against a team where one of their bowlers is absolutely killing it. If you were to clean their ball with purple stuff, Fabuloso, or anything during league play, would that make their ball ineligible to be used for the rest of the night? I know you can't use cleaner or anything on your own equipment, but would the rules still hold true if you did it to an opponent's ball? Like I said, total dick move, but would the rules still hold true?
Yeah, asshole. The rules would still hold true.
Number one, if you're asking that kind of question, it's because you want to fucking do it to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Like, why would you even ask that?
Listen, I know it's a dick move. Then you're really implying that you plan on doing it.
It's like, say, well, is it murder if I fucking, if I think about killing somebody? Like, come on, dude. Like, that's just
absolutely.
Next one.
If I accidentally bump into the guy that's standing on the ledge considering jumping, did I technically kill him?
Who knows? Next one. Can someone please help me make sense of this data, please? We just got lane talk at my lanes. Thanks. Oh, fuck, her name's there. Sorry, Christy. But how does that not tell you, like, high score 184, first ball average, you got 8 pins. Your pinfall was 630. How does that, how do you interpret it? It's pretty fucking, like, it's pretty, easy to read all that, right? Like, I don't know what I'm missing here. I mean, it kind of.
You'd have to give me a little more than that. I mean,
I don't know.
What is the person saying? Well, what's the post? Well, what's the problem?
Can somebody help me make sense of this data?
Okay, and the picture of the data says first ball average 8.
Yeah.
What else does it say?
Pinfall 630, clean percentage 63%, 6 games, average 164.
All right, well, clean percentage. For a novice bowler, they may not know that clean means being open free, so it's strikes and spares only.
Okay.
They may also not know that clean percentage discounts the 11th frame. So, for instance, if you strike on the first ball on the 10th and then you go 9 miss, that doesn't count towards your clean game percentage because it's not a technical frame.
Okay. Everything else seems straightforward.
Everything else seems pretty self-explanatory.
39% first strike ball, strikes.
39% of the time you strike on your first attempt in the frame. Okay. All right, next one. Do you have another candidate?
Well, nope. I do have the winner though.
Okay.
So
let's see the winner.
Let's find out who the imbecile of the week is. Damn it. I should have had it lined up.
I'm still really confused about Rigid Ocho not talking the entire time and then telling us he shot 644. Which, by the way, I said 680 because you missed 4 spares. So
true.
It's the only thing I've said about you all night, and it was actually nice. So
it's time for everybody's favorite segment.
If you guys don't know how to use a seatbelt, just ring your call button, and Tommy will come back there and hit you on the head with a tack hammer.
Lloyd, just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
here's the imbecile of the week.
Some people are really stupid.
Shout out to George Carlin. Rest in peace. So, the imbecile of the week is Matt Koplowitz. Is it considered...
I like Matt.
I know.
Take it down. Just tell me what he wrote. Take down his name. Just tell me what he wrote. I like Matt too much.
Is it considered normal to change balls during league play? Seriously? How long has he been bowling?
For as long as I can remember.
Okay.
It's always been a staple, at least in the last 35 to 40 years, that the chance that you would have to change balls is there. And it's become more so lately than it ever used to be. In other words, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you can go out and bowl league, and you could go there with two balls. Most people brought three, but
like Ocho.
The odds are if let's say you were throwing an Inferno and it started hooking too much after game one, you could move with an Inferno on league condition the same way you still could nowadays. But nowadays, because of the technology of the balls and the differences in the oil, it's not the craziest thing in the world to go out and bowl 260 game one and then immediately know in frame 2 of game 2 that it's time to change balls, because you're now in a zone that the lane dictates you should be playing. Like, I should be playing somewhere in this zone. So now I'm trying to create ball motion from that zone. I'll give you a prime example of it. The 2009 Motor City Classic. Bill O'Neill. The show was Bill O'Neill, Chris Barnes, Walter A. Williams Jr., Tommy Jones, and somebody else. Bill O'Neill started out as the 5 seed. And in game 1, I can't remember what ball. I think he was throwing an original hammer taboo in game 1. And he's playing about 20 and a half, 21 at the arrows to about 10 at the break point. In Thunderbolt Arena, which is where this was, on the 44-foot pattern they were bowling on, that was the zone you had to be in. You couldn't just take the same ball after he won game 1 and move 5 boards further left, because the ball wouldn't corner. It's a very old synthetic lane surface. So what he did in the next game was he switched to a hammer cherry vibe, which had a little bit more length than a taboo, and overall hook potential was probably 2 points lower on a scale of 1 to 10, 2 to 3. Then he wins that game and he goes into the semifinals against Chris Barnes. The cherry vibe starts overhooking. He stayed in the same exact zone and he switched to a hammer razor, which goes even longer than a cherry vibe and is like 3 points less hook on that scale. So whereas we're used to the migration of left and right with our feet with the ball or changing our hand positions like yesteryear, nowadays the go-to is automatic ball change. If this is the zone, I'm going to stay in the right zone. This is the highest carry percentage zone, and I will find the right ball from this zone that will strike from this zone. That's the new age way of thinking. It's why all the classic bowlers of yesteryear, they say these kids nowadays, they don't even know what it's like to trick out a ball or do this and that. There are some, like Chris Prather and EJ could do, and Jake, because I mentioned them earlier, they could do whatever they want with a bowling ball with their hand, and we watch them do it. It's why they're the best every week. But for the most part, nowadays the move is ball change. And it is nowadays way more normal to change balls during league than it was, say, 20 years ago. It would be very, very rare when I was bowling the Middlesex County Majors at Carolier that I would change balls. And that was with 2 5-man teams on one pair. And even if the 8 of them were righty, you very rarely saw the righties changing balls. If anything, it was a little bit more about changing zones. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, the idea is to stay in the same zone that you're bowling 260 in and finding the right piece to use from that zone. So as imbecilic and generic as the statement is, it's actually a very good question when you compare it one way to the other. So, but no, like John says, no, don't change balls, just struggle. Or throw a combat zone, like Jim says, one or the other.
Well, I'm sorry he's your friend, but, put the heat on me. Matt Koplowitz, you're the imbecile of the week. Sorry, pal.
But you're a good man, and we love you to death. I want to make sure he knows that.
Or we can make the original guy, the jackass.
And thank you, Derek. Pete was the 5th guy on that show.
Yes, we can make this guy, whoever he was, the imbecile of the week if you want. Trying to sabotage somebody's bowling balls and,
Yeah,
things he can get away with it. Like the rule won't apply if you do it to somebody else. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, that guy's too much.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, no support from me.
Ocho, what's your Twitter handle?
At the Dr Ocho.
Johnny, what's yours?
At JPJR07.
I am at Rad Rob Gaming. Please follow us on Twitter. You can also follow the show on Twitter, Straight Up 5 POD. Anything else you got coming up other than you're going to Reno? So good luck, brother. I'm excited for you.
I'm leaving for the gym in 40 minutes.
Nice.
Then I come home, eat, pack, get to bed by about 10 p.m. I'm going to hit the road around 4 a.m. tomorrow. That means no traffic getting there, and I'll be there right around 11:30 or 12. I'll immediately go into the stadium and bowl the Bowler's Journal, a few squads, then go check into my hotel, catch some quick Z's, and then do what I got to do to get ready for Friday.
Awesome.
Friday's team event, and Saturday, I'm really excited. My buddies, Dave O'Sullivan, my old college roommate, and Sean Riccardi, another Carolier legend. They're actually bowling team event a Friday evening or Saturday. They're bowling team event when we bowl doubles and singles, but in the evening. So I'm excited to see not only my 20 friends on my team, but that's a whole nother batch of guys. It's just going to be a really, really nice few days getting out of Vegas.
Well, I'm excited for you, man. I hope you bowl well. I hope Stephanie and everybody else bowls well as well. Pulling for you guys. So hopefully you, in either way, hopefully you have fun at least. So don't.
Oh, we always do.
I know you're. Hi, Mom. My daughter's here. My mom's on Face Talk. I know you're such a competitive guy. Like ultra
too much
competitive. No, I know because I'm the same way. But try to get out of your own head. You know what I mean? Like just try to be chill. Maybe smoke some weed before you go out there and bowl. But yeah.
No, I stopped doing that.
Oh, you did really? Oh, completely?
I did. I had to.
Oh, congratulations! I guess.
It used to be fun, and then it got to a point that like I'm sitting there by myself, and in a span of 10 minutes, I kid you not, I would think about everything under the sun. Everything.
Right.
Like, did I change the laundry? How much money's in my bank account? Did I piss off this person? What do I have to do later on tonight? Did my feet smell? Did I eat late enough last night? Is that my stuff? Like, I'm like, whoa.
That's the paranoia.
Whoa.
Yeah.
10 minutes ago, I was fine. So no, I'm. That's bye-bye for now.
Do you have any other kind of coping mechanism to try to like just not blow up inside your head? Then. Yeah,
Dr. Emil's 5-HTP plus with serotonin synthesizers.
All right.
Or GABA Calm Mind. Those both work very, very well for my brain when it gets a little unsteady.
I might have to look at that because I just usually pop a Xanax and I'm good.
Yeah. Dr. Emil, he's got that 5-HTP plus, and then he's got that other thing called Lion's Mane. That's like a I've never taken it before, but supposedly it's like a over-the-counter Adderall, where it's really supposed to keep you hyper-focused.
Wow.
But no, for me, just the serotonin synthesizers usually works for me and calms my nerves. So
we're good.
Everything's okay.
Well, I hope you do well, man. I'm pulling for you. So
thanks, and thanks to everybody for the well wishes and the best of luck. And always a pleasure having everybody here. You guys really make it worthwhile. So thanks.
Except for Jim Rogers, who hopes to get a hangnail.
Jim Rogers is one of the best people in the world. He was one of my groomsmen. He can pretty much say whatever he wants. Jim, you going to pick up 15 more Weimaraner's to sell in the next week? Let me know.
I don't even know what that means. All right.
That's a dog, but we'll talk later.
On that note, guys. On that note, we'll see you next week. Hopefully we should be here.
We'll be here.
With
talk about Reno.
That's true. We got to talk about Reno. Guys, hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next week on Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. Good night, everybody.
Later.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. You can follow the show on Twitter at Straight Up 5 Pod. Follow Johnny Jr. at JPJR07. Follow Rad Rob at Rad Rob Gaming. And follow Dr. Ocho at the Dr. Ocho. Got a question for Johnny? Send your questions to straightup5podcast@gmail.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Straight Up 5 with Johnny Petraglia Jr. Right here on the Rad Rob Radio Network.
I was like, well, that's true. They don't think I'm there. So I
What
guess
do you have, like some spyware on your computer that you can talk to your computer from a remote location, or what?
I was. So I had the door shut because I was like, I'm gonna probably come home, not realize it, and just freaking change and write and like be like, oh shit, there's a fucking show going on.
I thought it was the ghost of Ocho, so that's what I blamed it on.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? If you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. Choose from hundreds of social casino style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.